the game kicks off, right? And once the game kicks off, we can talk about it. It's incredible how bad LSU special teams are. I mean, it is not funny anymore.
But it's
you know what I mean? Because it is amazing that part of the game continues to haunt LSU in the rate that it does.
Yeah,
I mean, it's every Saturday. It's every Saturday.
It's not if, it's when.
That it's costing you.
And it's immediate.
Well, yeah. I mean,
it was immediate.
And now, not only is it immediate, it's more than one. It's multiple times.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the punt that Bramblett kicks on Saturday, I heard Brian Kelly say that, you know, we outkicked our coverage. It's like, maybe, but when you look at the coverage unit, again, you know, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago against Mississippi State when Emory Jones is making an open field tackle, is that they're all clumped together. Like, look, man, there's a lot of people in that building that have forgotten more special teams than I will ever know. But it doesn't look like it's the special teams coach, because the stuff that is happening to LSU in that part of the game is so elementary. Like, it is so basic. You know what I mean? Like the field goal being blocked at the beginning of the season because they're letting somebody come on the inside of them. If you look at these punt returns, the way that they're getting busted, if you get just the aerial view of it, everybody's standing around one another. You know what I mean? Like, I've been taught since special teams, since you were in grade school, that everybody cover a lane. You know, everybody has a lane, and do not get out of your lane. And for whatever reason, LSU's just all clumped up together, and then they don't tackle. They miss wide open field tackles in special teams that cost them again and again. And look, man, we'll get to the on the field stuff, but the coaching cost LSU on Saturday. I know that score is very indicative to a team that looks further better than LSU. But if you watch that game, LSU overthought that thing from the sideline, from the jump. I mean, the scene of Polian and Kelly on the sideline telling Besh and
Clayton
to switch before the game, it's like, fellas, just chill. Just walk Clayton up and tell him to catch the ball if that's what you want. I mean, it's like so much overthinking of what I would venture to wonder from just watching is how much the players looked at the coaching staff on Saturday and said, hey, guys, how much do you believe in us? How much do you have our back? Because that first and last fourth down call of the first half was Madden type stuff. That was Jordan and me, my 11-year-old, playing Madden against one another, saying, it's 4th and 10 before halftime. I got the ball in my own territory, and I'm going for it. It's like, say what? Like, what are you doing? The first one, 10-0, you got a chance to slow momentum for them, get points for you, and give yourself a chance to kind of find your footing and get back in the game, because the part of watching the game and you know, kind of peeling back and watching it for the first 24 minutes is that you were rarely out of it. For as bad as you played, you still, up until the 1 minute mark of the first half, still had a chance to make it relevant in the second half. If they get 3 there at the end of the half, if Jeray Jenkins catches that slant route going into the end zone, that game is a totally different game coming out into the second half. You go for it on 4th down. Tennessee gets the points that they missed 90 seconds before that, gave you a gift, giving you the ball back before half. You get a good play to get it into your territory. Then you run 3 negative plays and push yourself out of not only field goal range, but give them the ball back with an opportunity to get more points going into half, knowing that they get the ball coming out. It was like, who the hell's on the sideline making this decision? Is it Les? I mean, it felt like watching Les Miles football of not only those decisions, but I had to temper myself in the game once I saw that Harold Perkins was dressed out on the field, standing on the sideline? I mean, I had to almost kind of walk out of the seating area where I was. I was up in the stadium club and just kind of walk by myself with my head down, kind of cussing to the floor, what in the mother bleep are they thinking sitting number 40? How does a scenario exist for LSU football at this point of watching all the data that you have, that you can look at any team that you are scheming for and not have Harold Perkins in the defensive game plan? I'm telling you, for as good as Matt House has been, and Matt House has been extraordinary up to this point, he has been the reason why you've been in every game, his game planning. Whoever that falls on Saturday, that has to be, that is inexplicable. At this point, for Harold Perkins to be off the field is the story. He should be on the field every single play. And I would extend that to special teams. If your special teams is that bad and you can't tackle in the open field like they were struggling to do on Saturday, then you need to put your best players out there. And he, without question, at this point, is not only one of your best players, I would say that he's probably one of your top 3 players on your team. I would say B.J. Ojulari is probably your best player all in all when you look at LSU. I still believe in Kayshawn. I know that, look, I get it, and I'll hear you, but Kayshawn's going to be a high-round draft pick. He's going to be because of his talent. And after that, I would put Harold Perkins right there. I really, if you go back early on in that game, Kayshawn's running by himself one-on-one on a slant on the second drive of the game. If Jaden Daniels just lets the ball go, it's a 75-yard touchdown. The place goes ballistic, and it's a totally different game. For whatever reason, he looks at him, sees him one-on-one, thinks about it, puts it back in his pocket, and runs and gets 4 yards. That's the stuff that, look, that's not on the coaching. I get it. And another episode when the TV cameras find Brian Kelly looking at Jaden Daniels early in that game and again saying, what the bleep? What are you looking at? We've got one-on-one. What else do you want? There's no other scenario that you can draw up in football that's going to give you better opportunities than what LSU had at certain times on Saturday, and the quarterback is still reserved on pulling the trigger. We talked about it last week. You were asking a quarterback to completely change his personality in 7 days. It was like asking a post player to become a three-point shooter. Like asking a three-point shooter to become a post player. I just can't do that. So for us to ask Jaden Daniels or expect Jaden Daniels to be making those throws at this point, really, it's on us. If you're let down by what you're watching the quarterback do, if you're let down by seeing the quarterback miss open guys and continue not to pull the trigger when he's got one-on-ones, that's just who he is. That's who he is. And if they don't believe in Nussmeier enough to go to him, then this is what the offense is going to look like moving forward. I've been telling you that I've been hearing since week 3, week 2 of the season that Walker Howard's the best quarterback on this team right now. Right now. But they want to make sure and groom him and make sure that they take care of him and not ruin his development and play him too early. And there's consultation of that going on, but it's obvious because if Nussmeier can't play over the indecision of what we saw on Saturday, then it's close between mediocre, really. And I'm not trying to rain on college players, but at this point we're evaluating what we're seeing, and the difference, like we said last week, in this game was going to be the quarterback. And it's not for as great as Hendon Hooker was, and Hooker's great. I think that he's a high round. I think he's a first-round pick. He's 24 years old. He like we said, he can run it. He can throw it. He's a good decision maker. That pass before halftime that he threw in the corner over Converse was a big-time throw that he dropped in there. He threw balls into the windows all day. I think he's a pro, and I think that's the difference between Tennessee and a team like LSU. Where LSU's going to have more drafted players than Tennessee is this year. Book it. But comes down to one position. They're superior at quarterback, and LSU is mediocre. And when you have a mediocre quarterback around high talent, how many times have we seen it? I mean, we led the show off with that dumbass talking about Columbus Day, Les Miles. That was the personality of his teams. Where you got draft picks littered everywhere, but they can't figure it out under center. And it's just, I don't want to get too worked up because this is going to take a lot of time to fix, right? I think that, LSU wasn't championship level ready once Kelly took the job. Once the keys were turned over to him, it wasn't a championship level program at this point that he was taking over. But the things that you are hoping to see are things that are improving and at least coaching decisions that give you the best chance to win. And I thought Saturday, LSU's coaching staff way overthought it. And whatever's going on at special teams this is high school stuff. This is, we got to coach it better. Cool. We get you. That's a lot of Ogeron talk.
That's what I was about to say.
You know what I mean? We sat here and listened for the last 3 years of,
I got to fix it. I got to fix it. I'm going to fix it. It falls on me.
Okay, cool. We get that. You're the one making all the money. We don't have to tell us that. Everybody knows that. But you keep covering for special teams is getting old. How do you fix that part of it? Because it's going to continue to cost you, and at some point, it's going to cave the roof in a game that you're in. I mean, Alabama's beatable. Alabama is by no means immortal. You could easily be in a fourth quarter game with Alabama a month from now, easily with the talent that you have. But if you're still making elementary mistakes on special teams, I mean, what gives? Fix that stuff. I mean, it's incredible to see just how bad they are at that part of the game. And I think that the offensive play calling needs to improve as well, but there still is opportunities out there for plays to be made that they just don't make them, man. I mean, Jaden Daniels in the second quarter on a 3rd down and 8 rips one on the sideline to Malik Neighbors. Rips it. Doesn't think about it. Drops back. Throws it right on the line on a laser. 1st down pickup. That's probably the best pass I've seen him throw all year. He just dropped back. Didn't think about it. Saw it was open. Put it in a tight window. Put it in a playmaker's hand. Malik Neighbors makes one guy miss. Gets a couple of yards after the catch. 1st down. Move the chains. Didn't see it again.
They're very inconsistent.
Well, I mean, that's the part where he's trying to change, where he's trying to make the effort to change. And I commend him for trying to do that. But at this point, you're asking a tiger to change his stripes. I mean, no pun intended, but I mean, it's not going to happen. It's on us for thinking that it will happen at this point. It's the personality of the player that's in that position. And, you've played another game. You don't have another game, no interceptions, and you get blown out. That's not good. That's not a good thing. I mean, they're not taking and giving themselves chances to make plays. And when you run, I mean, that Tennessee game plan was so simple. Like, their offense was, I'm telling you, that's flag football offense. Cornerbacks are playing back, throw wide receiver screen. Play the numbers. They get back in the box, just run it. I mean, the difference with Tennessee's offense on Saturday than any time you've ever seen them play is that they committed to the run game and they didn't have to get out of it.
No, LSU totally abandoned it.
I mean,
like, the narrative got so out of hand for Jaden Daniels to throw the ball. If you were in the stadium, the fan base was on tilt because every time he dropped back to pass, it was like everybody played quarterback their entire life.
Oh, no, I was going to ask what
everybody
that
was
like
he's wide open. It's like everybody's all of a sudden not watching the ball for the first time in their life. They're all looking at wide receivers, and they all can play quarterback. Like, Jaden Daniels did not lose you that football game. Coaching did.
Right.
That was all on coaching because, and I think When you look at the fourth downs, Jordy, I think it was because he was trying to mask the special teams. He was going for it because he didn't want special teams out there again because they consistently make mistakes. So fuck it, let's go for it. Because what are we going to do? Punt it, and then we're going to outkick our coverage? Like, we can't get anything right? Jay Bramblett's out there making every tackle. Emory Jones is making tackles. Harold Perkins can't play special teams? What are we doing? All right, go for it. Run it in, 4th and 1. Let's run it. 4th and 10. Oh, sack. Give them the ball back. Let them score after you had a sliver of momentum. You finally get some. You finally put points on the board. No, let's go around, give them the ball back, short field, 23 seconds. They kick a field goal. Guess what? Because you decided to receive at the start of the game and fumble, they get the ball to start the second half. They score again. Now it's game over. Everybody bye. Go. Leave. Out of here.
No, it was
hot in
It
here.
was over. Yeah. It was over in the last 4th down.
Oh, absolutely.
When he went for it on that last 4th down and they get points going into half, that game was over. I mean, there was nothing in the second half that was any type of – I mean, there was nothing you could do from like a scheme standpoint, like strategy standpoint that was going to save what was happening to you.
You can't score 30 points on one possession.
I mean, and look, I'm not calling for people's job. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that you need to fire the offensive coordinator. Louis Mallew, fire the OC. Why? Who said to fire the OC? Who said that? He doesn't have the players to work with. Stop drinking the Jordy Kool-Aid. So you're telling me you don't think that LSU's offense has the players to be an explosive group? Then Louis, I don't know what you're looking at, man. Because when you got an offensive line that's in so much question that LSU's is, and you got players like Malik Neighbors, Kayshon Boutte, Jack Besh, Brian Thomas, John Emery, and those guys are giving you as much space as they were on Saturday, all you got to do is run exactly what Tennessee was doing. Pop, pop. As soon as they step up, throw it over the top. As soon as they back up, just keep running it at them. I mean, all Tennessee was doing was just doing exactly what LSU was giving them. It wasn't out-scheming them. It wasn't outsmarting them. It wasn't breaking them down. It was elementary flag football. Count the numbers. If you're going to give me space on the outside, I'm just going to whip it out there and pick up 8, 9, 10 yards of play.
That's embarrassing.
I mean, it was very, very basic, very elementary. That's the thing about Tennessee that I couldn't wait to see this high-octane, full-tempo, offensive mind and Josh Heupel come in here and see what he was going to do against Matt House. I mean, I told my buddy Jesse McCormick, who's got a 3rd grade, 2nd grade flag football team, watch the film of Tennessee in the first half and install that offense into your 1st grade, 2nd grade flag football group. Seriously. If they play off of you on the outside, just throw wide receiver screen to those freak athletes you got out there. When they come up, just throw it over the top of them. If they bounce out of you, just hand it off. That's all they were doing at LSU on Saturday. I mean, that's all they were doing. It was nothing. Hendon Hooker, if the season ended today, he'd probably win the Heisman Trophy. But it wasn't because of his performance on Saturday. He did what he was supposed to do. He's still got moments against Alabama coming up this weekend. He's got moments coming up against Georgia down the schedule that he'll have chances to be and have those Heisman moments. But all the LSU game is to Hendon Hooker is a nice road win. I mean, he didn't do anything that was spectacular. All he did was go there and
business as usual.
Just kind of beat a team that looked unprepared. Mm-hmm. Really. I mean, and that's just the most concerning part. Do you have these in, building a program like Brian Kelly is tasked with doing? Yeah, you do. I mean, you're going to have some of these clunkers where, you think that you're ready for the moment and you're ultimately not. But the most concerning part about looking back at Saturday was you weren't that far off if you just
play your normal game.
If you just would have given yourself a chance. Like a couple of decisions here early on. Get the 3 points on that first 4th down. Don't go for it in that field position. Like, what are you saying to your team? Like, what are you telling your group that's, sitting there and affected by these decisions on what they think of where you guys are from believing in them? I just thought that it was a very desperate feeling coaching staff in a game that you felt like you were close to evenly matched. And
that's the thing.
For Harold Perkins not to be on the field.
What's the
I don't know.
backstory with that?
I have no idea. I mean, I'm going at noon today, and I will ask that if it's not asked. I mean,
it has to be asked.
You know what I mean? But I'd imagine that somebody's going to ask when just
principle.
You know, just like where's one of your best players? That feels very. You know, I hate to bring it up, but I mean, it just feels very Les Miles. Mm-hmm. It feels very like, how is DJ Welter playing over Kendall Beckwith? How does that happen? Like, how do you go through multiple games where that was happening? How do you go through a series, 2 series on Saturday, seeing what was happening at the – how many tackles did Greg Penn miss? How many times was he out of position? I like Greg Penn. He's a good player. He's not as good as Harold Perkins. Play the better players. Like, how is there any scenario that exists that anybody in a meeting room preparing for that game looked at a personnel package and it did not include 40? And for that to happen layered and nobody stand up and be like, hold up, fellas, we're really going to roll the ball out there on Saturday and not have Perkins on the field? Like, don't you think that plays into Hendon Hooker's hand? I mean, why in the hell would you not have? I don't know what you could tell me that I would be like, well, I get it now. Like it
would have to be
if he's healthy and he's in good standing with the team academically, doing what he's supposed to do behind the scenes, stuff that we don't know about. If all that stuff, I mean, he was just the scholar athlete of the month at LSU in September. I mean, he just had a pick on the road on a crucial drive against Auburn last week. What the hell could have happened in 7 days to keep this cat off the field?
He played 9 plays.
I mean, that was some Columbus Day Les Miles type bullshit. I mean,
the more you look at it, the more there's some similarities to what VK is doing, whether it be bringing in Denbrock after you've already fired him once, and then you're going to bring in your old offensive coordinator because you couldn't get Tommy Rees to leave Notre Dame. You bring the only coach that does leave with you is your special boy, little Polian, and he keeps absolutely just bungling probably. I mean, I'm not a coach, but would you say the special teams is probably the easiest part of the gig? If you're going to pick one thing to coach, I would imagine
to be the special teams coach at LSU is probably the easiest coordinator. I'm not saying that it's easy to do.
Either.
But I mean, if you're telling me that I've got the selection of the entire meeting room at LSU, I can choose the wide receivers, I can choose the running backs, I can choose the DBs, I can choose the linebackers. Hell, I can choose the offensive linemen like they were doing, I guess, to go out there and put together the best 11 for a kickoff and a punt team to cover. Bruh, I mean, how many 4 and 5 stars you want to choose from? You know? I mean, like, how many guys do you want to have out there rather than having, no disrespect, but Wes Weeks out there covering punts? Like, I like Weeks. Good player, good program guy. Can't tackle in the open field. Make the change. Make the change. You know? I mean, like, obviously not one of your best 11. Put one of your best 11 out there. That's the type of stuff that you look at and you're like, this feels like less. This feels like you're watching someone that's not trying to win the game. Like, what are you doing? How could Perkins not be not only on defense, put him on the punt team? Like, he's a freshman in college.
Well, that has to be it, right? They didn't think he has the experience to be there against
Tennessee's
offense. I know,
he's covered a punt.
I know,
he's been doing it. I mean,
so
Jordan covered a punt yesterday in 5th and 6th grade football. You know how good Harold Perkins was in covering punts when he was in 5th and 6th grade football? Yeah, there's no explanation.
Right?
There's no explanation. There's no explanation.
Why?
No.
But it was a
Harold
mistake.
Perkins is one of your best players. Who gives a damn what his experience is?
Right.
Put him out. Wes Weeks has played a lot of football.
Yeah.
He's got a little good experience. You know what that looks like? Crumpled up on the
Right.
field, missing tackles.
Exactly.
That's what it looked like.
But there's
No
just no other
disrespect, but that's what it
explanation.
is. You know, I mean, that's inexplicable
Yeah.
at that level, not to play your best players.
Yeah, it is. It was dumb.
it's
I'm just trying
inexplicable.
to think of what was going on in their head with